All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to shade in order to show light source, okay? And the reason it's really important to add shading to show light source is that by showing the illusion that there's light, you create the illusion that there's form here. So like it's your eye really believes that this is a sphere, this is a cube, this is a cone, and that they're taking up real space in 3 dimensions, when completely it's all an illusion, right? It's all a lie. And so your job as an artist is to use shading to trick the eye into thinking that light is falling on an object, just like it does in real life. That's it, okay? So you'll notice that it looks like light is hitting this side of this object, and light is hitting this side of this object, and light is bouncing off the top of this, right? So the light source, we would say, is over here. It's coming this direction, right? It's going here, and that's making this look lighter, and that's making the area that's not in the light darker, right? This area is being blocked by that light, so this is coming here, but the block is blocking this side, and that's why it's so dark. So it's really simple. You can just think about it like darkness will be on the opposite side of the light source, right? So light goes here. That means that the light is going to be here. The darkness is going to be opposite that, okay? Also, the shadows are going to be opposite the light, okay? So the light source is here. The shadows are here. The darkness is here. The darkness is here. The darkness is here. The light is here. The lightness is right closest to it on that object, right? Closest to it on that object, okay? All right, now let's look at some comparisons, okay? So I've already shaded this one in. So if the light source is coming here, then the part of that object that is closest to the light is going to be lighter. So that's why this is white on the cone. The part of the cube that's more exposed to the light is the top of it, right? And the part of the sphere that's facing the light is over here, right? So it's going to be light and this side is dark. Again, the darkness is on the opposite side of the light, right? The darkness is here, the light is over here. The darkness is here, light is here, darkness is here, light is here, okay? It's always opposite. That means the shadows in this case would be over here too, okay? So when you draw in shadows, this is always tricky for students. You're going to go to the very bottom of the object, find the lowest point, and then I almost draw a nearly horizontal line from that, and I'm going away from the light, okay? So I would go here, and I would go away from the light. Something like that would be the shadow, for example, okay? I would even go a little bit straighter, actually. And then the cone would have a shadow going this way, and the cube would have a shadow going this way. And the cube would also, there would be a shadow continuing. So you find the other point of that object, and you make it come out like that. So it's about parallel. And then you would just shade that in. And when you add your shading, you don't want like really hard lines over here. You can kind of let it fade out. Another important thing is that you want your shading of the shadows to really contrast with the shape. Notice that if I made this shading too close to this, right? They look like they're kind of matching, and so you lose that cube. So I want to make it really defined, so I'm going to make that shadow darker. Usually your shadow is going to be darkest. And I'm going to make the same thing happen over here with this cone. I'm going to make that shadow really dark so that it sets the cone apart. And then here on this edge of the sphere, make it as dark as you can, so that it really sharpens your form and sets it apart. You don't want them all blending in together. Okay, and I would use my cross strokes also. Always use a cross stroke whenever possible. Okay, now you would do more shading than that and make it finalized. I'm just showing you quickly, okay? Now, how would we do this? So this is if the light source is going this way. If the light source is going this way, I just want to show you a comparison. I would do shadows going this way. So maybe immediately I can draw my shadows going this way. Okay, so that would be the shadow. Sometimes it helps to put your shadow in right away, just to help you. really see it. It's totally up to you. Always use a cross stroke. Okay, we're just sketching this out right now just so you can understand what it is. Okay, so that would be the shadows. And then, because the light is hitting it this way, I would say this again would be the lightest part of the square, the cube. So I can very lightly, I'm just gonna do barely like a tiny bit of little lines. That's it. And then over here, this is gonna be slightly darker, but not much. And when you shade the sides of your cube, it's really nice because every side of a cube there's no blending at all. It's going to be the same value, which is cool. And then this would be the darkest part because it's being blocked. It's farthest away from the light. So I'm gonna get really dark with the front of my cube, as dark as I can. And I want to make sure that this side of the cube stands apart, you know, has contrast from everything touching it so that I can really see it. So I want to try to make it even darker than my shadows in this case. Just as long as you have contrast, you're okay. Okay, and then because the light is coming here, this part of the cone would be lightest. So that means this is darkest. So over here, I'm going to start my darkness. And imagine it's like kind of on an A, so I'm going to bring it over. So I'm going to move my pencil quickly. And as I move over, I'm moving this way. As I move over this way, I'm lessening my pressure. So I'm giving it less and less pressure. So shading back and forth, I'm giving less pressure. Back and forth, giving it less pressure. Now I'm going to come back and do a darker line on the edge just to give it more drama. And then I go back in, just work in little spots, and I blend it, and I go less pressure. And less pressure, and less pressure, etc. And then over here, I'm going to go really light, super light. And we're going to leave the edge almost white. Okay? And then for the sphere, this is the trickiest one. You have to shade in a half moon, like a crescent. Okay, so if the light is coming here, this part is going to be lightest, so this part is going to be darkest. So I'm going to put a very dark line to start my shade, and I'm moving like this, moving at a crescent. And as I move, I'm getting lighter. For the sphere, it might be helpful to actually just do lines. So I'm going to do my next line, it's a little bit lighter, and my next line is going to be even lighter, and my next line is even lighter, and that helps you to see it better. And my next line here is even lighter. Okay, and I'm going to go back in. Now my next line here is going to be a little bit darker because I'm trying to match it to this. So we're trying to create that gradient. Now a little bit lighter. And we're just moving back and forth. And we're getting lighter and lighter as we get closer to this left side. Now we go back in, we give it a little more darkness to make it really stand out. And then we have to get a little bit darker as we go in, right? Because we're trying to match that darkness and then get a little lighter. We want a nice little fade, like an ombre or a gradient. Okay, and you would just keep working that, okay? Don't try to blend anything with your finger or with the tissue until you've got the shading really close to perfect with your pencil alone. The blending with your finger or with the tissue won't solve things. If you don't have the correct shading done with your pencil, it's still not going to work, okay? So now I just wanted to show you the difference, okay? So this is light source going this way, light on this side. This is light source going this way, light would be on this side, and shadow will be over here, okay? Now, next thing is when you draw your background, so see how there's a background line right here? You want to make sure the background line is above the base of your background object. So it would be somewhere like up here. It would go all the way across. It doesn't matter where, it just has to be above that bottom line of the background object. Okay, and then you would do your shading on your base and in the background. Just make sure there's always contrast between background and your object so they stand out, right? You want them all to stand out against the background and the background here. Okay.